The story of Blenko glass will continue. Take the opportunity now to show your support for this public television station by making a pledge.
Hearts of Glass, the story of the Blenko Glass Company of West Virginia. At one point, if you watched the beginning of the program, there were 500 such creative centers in West Virginia. Now it's down, or the last figure I saw on the tape was like 27. And Blenko Glass has been there almost since the very beginning, thanks to their, I guess your great-grandfather. Great-grandfather, yeah. And there's an English connection here for you folks up in BC. Your grandfather was from England, right?
Great-grandfather, yes.
And your father
married an English girl.
Married an English girl.
Right.
So about every second generation they renew this thing.
That's right.
So you folks can you folks can understand the wonderful connection between the beauty of this and really the craftsmanship of the old world that has been brought over to this. Deborah Novak, who is the producer of the program and also the narrator. This, by the way, is Richard Blenko, who is the president of the company.
That's right.
Probably should pass that on. Deborah, we explained that package at the end there for the $1,200, yes, and actually got a couple of orders on it. But a lot of folks called in and said, can she do that one more time? Because
sure.
Number one, $1,200 is a lot of money.
Yes. It is.
And number two, there's an awful lot of stuff involved.
There is.
There is. We have so many pieces of Blenko glass and what we call our mini museum collection. So why don't we just show folks exactly what's in that collection. For example, when you pledge your support to KCTS at the $1,200 level, you will receive the Amethyst candy dish. This is part of that collection. Richard, why don't you hold that for me?
Okay.
We will give you 2 crystal heart-shaped candle holders. This is also part, George, of that $1,200 collection that you're talking about. Richard,
I will hold these.
this. The Art Deco water bottle, which, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, is one of Blenko's most historic pieces that they've made. Right. We just saw it made in the last segment. This is also part of the $1,200 mini museum collection.
1938 designed.
Okay. Good example of Art Deco design too in that piece. The ruby apple with the special ruby formula. This is again part of the mini museum collection.
Correct.
And every piece, I think we need to remind folks that every piece is signed by Richard Blenko, who's here live in the studio tonight. That's also part of the $1,200 collection.
1970s, and we made some of these for Tiffany's in New York. Okay.
The Cobalt blue signature vase, Cobalt blue glass with this gold wrap around it.
That's still so popular, that Cobalt.
It is, isn't it?
When it's that clear and that beautiful, wow, come on, gang.
There are, in fact, Cobalt blue collectors societies out there.
Indeed there are. Big time.
And this is also part of the $1,200 mini museum collection. If you want to hold it on.
The 1980s, okay.
The Art Nouveau Fan Bus in this really, really vibrant yellow formula. This vibrant yellow with a cobalt blue base, as George pointed out. There we're seeing it. This is also part of the $1,200 collection. And George, why don't you get the last one there?
This is the...
This is the Azure...
The big kahuna. That's the big piece.
Pedestal centerpiece. All of this, plus a copy of the program, Hearts of Glass, is available when you pledge your support to KCTS for a tax-deductible contribution of $1,200. But we do need your phone calls tonight. Richard is only here for one night, we do want to hear from you. Please call 1-800-443-1999 and pledge your support to KCTS. Right, George?
Indeed. And please understand something. These each have individual pledge limits on it. For example, this beautiful pedestal centerpiece at the $500 level, if that's what you want to get. Each piece that is sent to you tonight will be signed by Richard Blenko and dated. Now that makes it a collectible because if you just happen to find one of these, it wouldn't have the signature of the boss himself.
That's right.
And believe me, they are totally collectible. They are in museums. And as a matter of fact, if you are not buying one, as I understand it, at a museum auction, which can get very pricey and very competitive, then you either do it here or you don't do it.
Well, that's right. We've talked about the fact that earlier this year, Forbes magazine, as well as the Antiques Roadshow, as well as USA Today, has to know that Blenko is the collectible for the millennium.
Well, the Antiques Roadshow, I think we need to tell folks that experts from the Antiques Roadshow have actually singled out Blenko glass as being one of the most desirable collectibles of the 21st century.
Now, and one of the reasons, and because I saw that program, was the clarity of the glass itself and the fluidity of the glass. You have, I think, the perfect example of that, Deborah, in your hands, because you can actually see the movement almost of the glass and how it was formed.
It's very perceptive.
And then the clarity of colors, Richard, the brightness of the colors. Where in the world did your company get bright colors like
well, again, what you're seeing, the palette of colors is derived from our stained glass colors we derived perhaps 100 years ago by my great-grandfather. So again, those have been translated from the cathedral to contemporary glass. And of course, there's great significance to the great designers that Blenko's had over the years. People like Winslow Anderson, Wayne Houston, Joe Myers, one of the founders of Studio Art Glass in America, all available here in public television tonight.
And I want to remind you, you're seeing the individual pieces at and their individual subscription levels, but they go all the way from $60. I hope that we've hit everybody, because everybody should have a piece of collectible art in their home, and it doesn't take an arm and a leg, gang. It really doesn't. All you have to do is take advantage of opportunities like this tonight, when you have people who truly do make art and come in to your home and willing to sign it and date it and make it more valuable than it ever was, and automatically from the day you put it out, it will become a center of attention in your home, and with great pride you'll display it. I love that apple, by the way.
Yes.
Oh, isn't it
love
marvelous?
the apple. Yeah, and the green on top is so clear, so beautiful.
There we're seeing it.
Just crystal clear.
This ruby apple, and yes, you're right. If you look closely, you can see this emerald stem on top. And that was made originally in the 1970s,
Late
correct?
1970s. In fact, Tiffany's in New York ordered some of those, of course, for the show.
Look at that color. I hope folks understand at home just how bright and vibrant the Blenko colors
I think it's coming through, because I'm watching a set like you are, and you can see the color and also the clarity of the glass. You see that? You see that you can see right through it, but that there are actually little bitty lines in it. Well, little bitty lines are because it was made by a human being instead of a stamp machine. And that's the difference. The other thing that I'm glad you picked that up, Richard, because when that is polished, I mean, it shines like diamonds. And you can see the little marks in this where someone has worked that by hand. And you said, what, 6 people to make every piece of this? Not 2,000 of these blue vases, for example, but 6 people for every blue vase.
That's right.
That's something.
Well, it really is. They're working 6-man European shops, using hand-carved wooden tools, hand-carved wooden molds, really the way it was done 500 years ago. And again, Studio Art Glass at a great location here.
Now, if you have anybody in your home who collects glass, and you give them a piece of Blenko glass, number one, they're going to want to know how you knew.
That's right.
and number two, that maybe give you an opportunity to give a little plug for public television. Remember, the dollars bring a wonderful premium into your home and collectible premiums, but the dollars go to support public television.
Yes.
Correct.
And these are the programs that if you didn't see them, you wouldn't know about them unless you were an antique dealer or a collector. And believe me, the first calls we got during the first break were either from dealers, not too strong, there weren't some of them, and people who knew Blenko glass and knew what a deal they were getting.
Well, that's right. In fact, Deb and I have been around, of course, this area collecting Blenko glass, historic pieces for our own museum. People are calling up here, adding to the collection of Blenko glass. Again, we do major signings. I do at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, the Art Institute in Chicago, and again, you can't find glass signed by me except a major museum or here in public television here in this area.
And this is Blenko Glass's commitment to support public television.
That's correct.
And public television truly is making a commitment, I hope, to support little individual art companies that have survived so much. I mean, you survived the Second World War, for heaven's sake. And if they can't survive a true free enterprise economy, then I think probably we might be in trouble. Well, but they are surviving, and they're doing it quite simply with the same standards that they've used all through their history, and that's good hard work, excellent employees, absolute, not compromising with excellence, and not taking any shortcuts. Which gets us to delivery time, and I want to be real upfront with you on this, okay? It's going to take like 8 to 10 weeks to get it to you, quite simply, because these two have been out through 50 markets, and the demand is great. But don't think that minimizes your investment, because it doesn't. 6 people for every piece.
That's right.
So in 50 markets, if you got 100 orders in each market, that's 5,000 times 6, that's 30,000 hours if it only took an hour.
Well, that's
a lot of hours.
Well, it is.
So my point being, if it's worth waiting for, if it's worth having, it's worth waiting for, and you've waited this long for it, this is a fantastic opportunity, and we don't know if it's going to come along again. It took us a little while to get these people up in the northwest corner of the country. We'd like to keep them here for about a week.
Well, that's right. What's very important, George, we talked about the fact that all the glass you're seeing in the mini museum package represents a variety of eras of our company, and the great designers we've had, people like Winslow Anderson, Wayne Houston, Joe Myers, Hank Adams, John Nickerson, and John Shepard played a great role in this package you see.
Deborah, you're holding the fan piece there, and we just took a close-up of it, and it had the sticker, the hand.
That's right.
For Blenko glass. That's something you'd want to keep on the piece, is it not?
That's correct.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so when you get your piece of glass, when you call in and subscribe, whatever it is, if it's a candy dish, great. If it's a centerpiece, great. If it's all of it, great. Keep the stickers on. Don't wash them off, okay?
That's right.
Don't go to the dishwasher and say, well, these need a good cleaning. No, they don't. No, they don't. But keep those because it adds to the value. And, of course, the signature on the bottom makes those more valuable than those that just have the sticker. Does that make sense? I hope it does.
That's true, and that's very true, George, because of the 4 generations of Blenkos, only 3 of them have signed, 2 of them are dead. So again, great collectability by my grandfather, my father, and myself, and again, that of course lends the value.
And thank you for picking out such nice pieces.
We like that.
I'll tell you, this really fractures me to have to do this to you, gang. But at the $60 level, this is an absolutely beautiful piece of work.
It's very elegant.
I'd like to up that premium a little bit, but you will not be disappointed when you get that. Hold it still. Okay, I'll hold it still. Well, you know me. There.
It's in that deep, rich amethyst
and
color.
notice the character of the glass. It's bubbly and it's a little bit rough, but that's because it was done by
That's correct. That's right. There's a rough texture to, of course, the bowl. It's smooth on the inside. We've hand spun this piece out. And again, you have a very special piece in your hand. Deb, what's that?
Oh, this one. Well, this is the Art Nouveau Fan Bus, which is only available to viewers of public television.
That's right.
This is available at a $300 level, and I think the most wonderful thing about this is the color, because this color is just eye-popping yellow. And if we can tilt down, we'll see that it has a cobalt blue base on it.
That's right. We refer to this.
And once again, that picture shows the flow of the glass, and there's a twist in that that is very, very interesting, and obviously happened when it was made.
Well, that's right.
There's evidence of the process in the piece.
Yeah.
Well, that's right. You're seeing a hand-clappered foot. Again, we're using hand-carved wooden molds, hand-carved tools, shaping the piece. Of course, this piece was designed in the Art Nouveau era, turn of the century. And again, this color and shape and design only available here on public television, not available in a major museum or department store or, of course, collector.
And again, if I might remind you, for those of you who can afford it, we never ask anybody to subscribe who can't afford it or who doesn't watch, and I think that's fair. But if you can afford the $1,200, that's everything that we've shown you. Every single piece, all hand-signed by Richard Blenko, the president of Blenko Glass Company of West Virginia. Been in business since, gosh, the turn of the century.
Well, that's right, 1893 originally.
Yeah. So, and all signed and all dated. Please, folks, give some thought to this. I know $1,200 is a lot of money, but that takes care of a lot of presents or gets you up to a great start on a collection. Call us right now, 1-800-443-1999. We're going to be quiet and give you a chance to call now.
You know, a lot of times viewers will come up to me and say, it seems like every time I turn on KCTS, there's a pledge drive going on. Well, dear friends, this is not quite accurate. Actually, only 2% of our broadcast time on KCTS is spent doing pledge. Why do we have pledge drives? Because they work. And what we're doing on Pledge is asking for you to support something that you already know about. You know the product that we're selling, and that's quality programming, quality television. Commercial television bombards us with 26% of every broadcast hour used for commercial purposes. So won't you show your appreciation to KCTS that we use only 2% of our broadcast time for Pledge? We're honest and straightforward about why we're doing it, because we need you, the subscriber, to support public television, to support the kind of programming that you're seeing here tonight. Not only the programming, but the wonderful opportunity to have guests in our studio such as Richard Blenko. only the programming, but the wonderful opportunity to have guests in our studio such as Richard Blenko, a member of a national treasure, Blenko Glass Company. So please, won't you show your support and give us a call right now, 1-800-443-1999.
We've got a lot of things to cover, and the more you call in, the more we find out that we haven't covered everything. And I don't want to hurt that. Deborah, these are more than just pieces to put out and look at.
Oh, yes. I mean, they are beautiful, but they're also functional. And people will use Blenko glass in their homes. All of these hold water. And
I would think this was flowers in it.
Oh, yes.
It really is.
Just imagine flowers out of all of the vases. And actually, this Art Deco water bottle, which is their most famous piece, the oldest piece in continuous production. I actually have this on my breakfast table, and I fill it with orange juice and use it every morning. So I think that's kind of neat about Blenko glass. It's beautiful, but it's also functional at the same time. You will use it.
And of course, this piece can be used as a decorative vase in and of itself.
Okay, and while we were off there for just a second, Deborah was suggesting something that I think is just a great idea. If you're if you're subscribing tonight, and I do that all the time. Sorry, you know me. If you're subscribing tonight and taking advantage of one of these premiums, say this beautiful Cobalt blue vase, for heaven's sakes, also add $60 to your subscription and get the video, because whoever you give this to is going to be fascinated by the process.
And they'll want to know the history, won't they?
It's all there, indeed.
That's right. And of course, the tape becomes...
I'm sorry, $90. Well, yeah, I had a good deal there for you for a minute, gang, but you know, they catch me every time.
And of course, the tape becomes the provenance for the artistic pieces you're seeing here tonight. So by showing them a film, by acquiring the film along with the collector piece that's signed by myself, your recipient then has the history of the piece, the provenance becomes more valuable at that point.
And not only that, but I think the show does a tremendous job also showing where a lot of the glass has gone to the great churches and the great windows.
That's correct.
And some of the collectibles that are all over the country, all over the world now.
Absolutely. And of course, the tape highlights the fact of the great designers, the early designers, people like Winslow Anderson, Joe Myers, again, one of the founders of Studio Art Glass. Of course, here in this area, you have a great history of richness of Studio Art Glass.
Indeed. And I know a lot of folks are really into glass collecting, and why not? This is absolutely stunning. And if you have a place to show it, you will be the proudest guy on the block, I'm here to tell you. Please, at the $60 level, this is the candy dish. It's amethyst in color. Is that?
Yes, it's amethyst, which is a very historic color, George. Richard's great-grandfather was working in amethyst, and in fact worked to perfect this amethyst color that I'm holding right now.
I was in an antique store one time, and somebody came in looking for cobalt blue and spent all of her time looking at the amethyst glass. I mean, all of her time, like a half hour. She went through every piece, and she hadn't seen it before and just loved it. Well, these are the candle holders here that Deborah has in her hand.
That's right.
And when you shine those up, when you just polish them, I would imagine, just rub a very nice soft cloth over them.
That's correct. Soap and water.
Sparkle. They just sparkle.
That's right. Because of course the Blenko crystal we think is very pristine. Crystals often tend to have a gray tint perhaps for iron oxide. It could be green also. So the Blenko crystal is very clear, very pristine.
And they were made for the show, which is important to me.
So acquire the film to go along with the course of glass.
It's a great gift for a couple that's getting married this summer, or this coming fall, or just to say I love you to someone, right?
That's right.
And the Art Deco water bottle at the $120 level, George. Isn't this piece
that's a heck of a deal, I think, to have that historical a piece at that level.
Let me tell you something. It's a really good example of Art Deco characteristics. Look at these smooth, streamlined sides, and can you look closely and see that circular indentation there?
Yeah, they can see
That's really indicative, of this 1930s
And then the
period.
quality and the
texture, the richness.
Texture.
That's correct.
Glass, it's fantastic. And that's just from people going in there with those paddles and working with it and making it totally unique. And by the way, these are different because Richard is signing them. They're different because Richard is dating them. Each one is individually different. They can't be the same because they're all handmade.
That's correct.
So each one is individually different and a collectible in itself, even though it might be one of a series.
That's correct. Now again, it's of course a very special, this is of course a spectacular ruby red apple that we're making, designed in the late 1970s. In fact, we made some of these for Tiffany's in New York. What do you think of this color, Deb?
Oh, I think it's spectacular. You know, in making the documentary, I learned so much about hand-blown glass. And George, one of the things I learned was that the colors, well, they're like recipes.
That's right.
They're formulas, and each factory has its own particular formulas. The Blenko ruby formula is a secret. Folks, please do not call in for the formula. He's not giving that out, but you can call in at the $200 level for this wonderful ruby glass in the form of a ruby apple. And remember, Richard is here live in the KCTS studios. He is waiting for your call. He would love to sign one of these pieces of handmade Blenko glass just for you. But we do need your phone calls this evening. 1-800-443-1999. Right, George?
I'm still trying to figure out what my favorite one here is, and I think you picked it up, Richard. I tell you, that cobalt blue is gorgeous, and with that gold
gold wrap that goes around it.
gorgeous. But this is fantastic.
Well, it's quite spectacular. Again, of course, the vase you're seeing that Deb is holding, we talk about the fact there are what, special collectors for cobalt colors, correct?
Absolutely. There are Cobalt Blue Collector Society. This is available for a $250 contribution to KCTS, signed by Richard Blenko.
Cobalt glass became so popular that it was done by the companies that just stamp it out. And just because of the color, they were able to create a market. But hand-blown cobalt glass is a different story, gang.
Quite spectacular.
Right.
Now, here's mine.
That's your favorite?
Here's the piece of the resistance, right there?
I guess so. At the $300 level, we have this Art Nouveau-inspired fan vase. And as you were saying earlier, George, there's evidence of the process in the piece. If you look closely at it, you can see how this piece was blown and shaped. You know, they make everything by hand at the Blenko factory, even the tools that they make.
Correct.
They make their own tools. And of course, the molds they use, those are all hand carved, which is, you know, it's an art in itself.
Well, that's right. And again, you're seeing a piece like this is quite spectacular. How do you identify blown glassware versus machine-made glass? You have the punty mark in the bottom indicating the fact it was hand-blown.
Feel this, George. Can you feel this where the blood pack was?
Yes.
See that? It's right there.
Quite spectacular. Now our favorite piece of all.
We have to move on. Yes. At the $500 level, we have the Azure pedestal centerpiece. You sure this isn't your favorite one, George? You were eyeing this awfully carefully before. I saw that at the break.
Gorgeous. I got a big dining room too. That looked really
George,
good.
describe this is a very large and heavy piece.
Do you see these stripes around the edge?
Yes.
Now they're not up on this level at all. They're underneath.
That's right.
And they're beads laid on, I would imagine, after this piece is pretty well done, and then put on as a bead.
That's correct.
Absolutely perfectly done. But each one a little bit different because it's done by hand.
Well, that's right. This is a very large, imposing piece. Again, Deb, describe how these are applied.
Oh, I have actually seen this piece being made. It's theater to watch it made.
I bet.
Right.
They take on the blowpipe and they spin it out like a pizza dough on the end of it. It just goes and gets larger and larger and larger. And then after it's blown and shaped, then the finisher comes along and applies each one of these rings that George was talking about. And it's just a marvelous piece. It's about 14 inches in diameter.
That's correct.
It would look great on your dining room table, George.
That's right.
Well, yes.
Now again, let's talk about the fact there's something very special. You can acquire all these pieces as part of a mini museum collection, right?
I think it's a great idea. At the $1,200 level, we have absolutely every piece that we've talked about, plus the video for a tax-deductible contribution of $1,200 to KCTS.
Now, remember, that gets you started either on a Blenko glass collection, or it extends the collection that you now have, perhaps with Blenko and other glass, or it gives you 8 gifts for people that are the toughest people in the world to buy for. Now, you may not have 8 of them. I got at least 3. Bad enough, I'll tell you. But if you think about that, you're giving a class gift.
You are.
You will be the hero of the day. Please give some thought to that, and obviously making a very substantial contribution to your public television station that frankly can take all the help it can get. You know, you mentioned that all of your instruments are made by hand, and then Richard's standing here with this battery-powered signature, but he brought along, can we come back here for a second?
That's right.
He brought along a diamond pen.
That's right.
That had a little diamond in the end of it.
That's correct.
And this is how you used to and literally scratch the signature into the glass.
That's very much so. Of course, if you're going back to collecting historic Blenko glass, you're looking for our signature by the Blenko family. Very rare. We originally used this pen that's now 60 years old, inscribing, of course, the Blenko name on the bottom of the pieces. So this is fail-safe, doesn't require electricity, it works every time.
I told him if he runs out of the batteries, he's got to go to the pen.
We will do that.
To go to the pen. Are we on? We're going back, to the third and final part of Hearts of Glass. This is a remarkable program, and when you see what this company has gone through to stay in business, to bring you this kind of class,
yes.
You will love it, and you will call us. I know you will. 1-800-443-1999. Don't let this one go by, because if you do, you're going to kick yourself all day tomorrow, and don't do that. It's not fun.